Okay, we will start the today's session. In the last session, we have seen first the limitations of the first law. Okay, then we have seen the second law. Okay, so second law, it is given by two scientists. One was Kelvin Planck and second was Clausius. Okay, so there were two statements of the second law. So first statement was given by Kelvin Planck and second statement was given by Clausius. So we have seen those statements. Also, we have seen the perpetual motion machines, right? Now let us see that, okay, or let us prove that Kelvin Planck statement and Clausius statements, they are one and same. Okay, so we will prove this. Okay, we will try to prove now in this lecture that Kelvin Planck's and Clausius statement is one and same. That means we are interested to establish equivalence between Kelvin Planck's and Clausius statement Okay, so we are interested to establish the equivalence between Kelvin Planck's and Clausius statement. Ultimately, we need to prove that Kelvin Planck statement and Clausius statement, they are one and same, right? That we supposed to prove. Okay, so for that, okay, what we will say, okay, first we will say that, okay, or we will check that whether a violation of Kelvin Planck statement Kelvin Planck statements leads to violation of Clausius statement. Okay, so we will first try to check. If I try to violate the Kelvin Planck statement, then it also violates the Clausius statement. If such is the case, then you can say that both statements are one and same. I repeat, we are interested to show that Kelvin Planck and Clausius statement, they are one and same. Okay, so for that, what we'll do? Firstly, we will try to violate the Kelvin Planck statement. That means if we say that Kelvin Planck statement is false, if we say like this, Kelvin Planck statement is also false, okay, in such case we will lead to conclusion that Clausius statement is also false, right? See, when you say that Kelvin Planck statement is false, in such case Clausius statement will also tends to false. Okay, so that means what? Both the statements are one and same. Okay, so this is how we will try to prove. Okay, so what is violation? Is simply saying that this statement is wrong. So when you say that Kelvin Planck statement is wrong, okay, and with such assumption, if you solve, you will also find that Clausius statement is also false. So if such is the case, we can say that both the statements are one and same. Is it okay? Is that okay now? Let me know. Is that okay? Yes, you can respond. Is that okay? Yes or no? Okay. So let's consider. Okay. Let's consider this engine. Okay. Let us consider this engine E. Which operates between the two reservoirs. Okay, so this is the engine E, which operates between two reservoirs, T1 and T2. As we know that T1 is greater than T2. This is the engine which operates between two reservoirs, T1 and T2. You know that temperature of T1 is greater than temperature of T2. So in such case, this is the engine. So what will happen? Okay, the heat will flow flowing from higher temperature to lower temperature. So heat will start flowing from what? High temperature to, okay, lower temperature. Okay, so this is the engine, right? So heat will flow from what? Higher temperature to lower temperature. Heat will start flowing from high temperature to low temperature, right? So if heat flows from high temperature to low temperature, what happens? The power will be get produced, right? So power will be get produced, right? So some power will be produced. Okay, some power will be produced, right? So let us say that this is an engine, okay, which receives Q1 amount of heat. The engine is receiving Q1 amount of heat and it should reject Q2 amount of heat, right? Some heat should be rejected. Okay, but what I will say that this is an engine which converts all heat receives into work. Okay, so no heat is rejected. I'll just mention here Q2 is 0. Okay, no heat is rejected. No heat is rejected. So what this engine is doing? This engine, it is converting entire heat receives, that is Q1, into work. Okay, so that means what? I'm violating the Kelvin Planck statement. What Kelvin Planck statement says? No engine is 100% efficient, right? No engine is 100% efficient. But what now I'm saying? This engine, it is 100% efficient. Okay, Kelvin Planck statements says that no engine is 100% efficient. Now I am saying that this is the engine which is 100% efficient. Why it is 100% efficient? Because it is converting all heat receives into work. Okay, now see what we'll do. Okay, whatever the power that is being produced by this particular engine, okay, so W is a power that is being produced by this particular engine. We utilize that power so as to run a reverse heat engine. Okay, so this is a reverse heat engine. So this is basically the reverse heat engine. Okay, so this engine will produce a power, right? And reverse engine will consume a power, right? So whatever the power that is produced by the engine will be consumed by the reverse heat engine. Okay, because what heat engine does, the reverse heat engine, it extracts the heat from higher temperature and it rejects the heat to lower temperature, right? So if you want this reverse heat engine to extract some amount of heat, okay, I will call this as Q2. Okay, I will call this as Q2. Okay, if you want this reverse heat engine to extract some amount of heat, okay, that is Q2. Okay, so this engine, reverse heat engine, will extract Q2 amount of heat only and only when you supply W amount of work, right? So until and unless you supply this work, it will not extract the heat. Okay, so when you supply W, it will extract Q2. It will extract Q2. So how much it will reject? It will reject Q1 plus Q2. Try to understand. It will extract, it will reject. Okay, how much it will reject? It is the addition of Q1 plus Q2. So Q1 plus Q2, that will be rejected. Okay, that will be rejected. Is that okay? Is that okay or not? Let me know. Have you understood this diagram? See what we have done? We have violated the Kelvin Planck statement. Okay, this diagram. Okay, what Kelvin Planck statement says? No engine is 100% efficient. What we are saying? This is the engine E, which is 100% efficient. So it converts all heat receives into work. So whatever the heat that it receives, that is Q1. So that total heat gets converted into work. Okay, so no heat is rejected. No heat is rejected, right? Now we are operating a reverse heat engine, right? So reverse heat engine, okay, reverse heat engine conveys the heat from low temperature to high temperature. So reverse heat engine will convey the heat from low temperature to high temperature only and only when you supply some work. So whatever the work that is being produced by the engine will be supplied to reverse heat engine. So when you supply the work to reverse heat engine, it will abstract Q2. As a result of this, it will reject, okay, the Q1 plus Q2. So Q1 plus Q2 will be rejected. Okay, is it okay? Is it okay with this diagram? Let me know. Is it okay with this diagram? Is it okay? Let me know. Is that okay or not? Let me know. Right. So see, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yes. Now see, if I need to draw combined diagram, okay, I will just draw combined diagram. Okay, so let this be T1. Okay, let this be T2. Okay, so I will just draw combined diagram. This is T1 and this is T2, right? So when I draw the combined diagram, what I will do, I will combine the engine and reverse heat engine. I will combine these two devices. Okay, so I'll just call them as a combined device. Here only I'll mention this as a combined device. Combined device. Okay, so I will combine engine and reverse heat engine. So when I'll combine that, I will combine engine and reverse heat engine. What will happen? Okay, here there should be some arrow. Okay, here there should be some connection, right? There should be some connection, right? Now you can check it here. Q1 is going downward. Here what is happening? Here Q1 is going downward, Q1 is going upward, right? So Q1 going down, Q1 going up gets cancelled. This is Q1 is down, Q1 is up. So that is getting cancelled. What is remaining? Q2 only. So that is Q2 going upward, right? Yes or no? Q2 going upward, right? Similarly here this Q2 is 0 and this Q2 is upward, right? So what you will get? You will get Q2 upward here, right? See, if you are getting confused with this Q2, I will just write down here. Instead of writing Q2 as 0, I will just write down no heat is rejected. I'll just mention here no heat is rejected. Okay, so there is nothing here, there is nothing, no heat is rejected, right? So this engine will receive Q1, whatever heat it receives, okay, it converts totally into work. Okay, now whatever the work that has been produced, the total will be consumed by the reverse heat engine. So it will abstract Q2 and it will reject Q1 plus Q2. Okay, it will reject Q1 plus Q2. Now if I combine these two, so engine and reverse heat engine, I will call it as combined device. Now what is okay on the below arrow, below line, it's a Q2 which is going upward. So here Q2 is going upward. Now what is remaining here on this arrow? Q1 is going down, Q1 is going up. So it gets cancelled. What is remaining? Q2 up. So Q2 up is remaining. Okay, now what you understand from this device? Okay, what do you understand from this device? Okay, so what do you understand? Tell me from this device. So if you see the combined device, okay, so what is combined device? Combined device conveys, okay, combined device conveys the heat from, it conveys the heat from what? Lower temperature to higher temperature. You can say the combined device, it is transferring the heat from lower temperature. Okay, it is transferring the heat from what? T2 to T1. So that's why it is transferring from low temperature to high temperature without any work input. Okay, so without taking any work input, it transfer the heat from low temperature to high temperature. Okay, which is not possible, right? Which is not possible, right? You can't convey the heat from low temperature to high temperature without any work input. Okay, and which is not possible as per okay, Clausius statement. Okay, so what Clausius statement says? If you need to transfer the heat from lower temperature to high temperature, you need to take work input. Okay, and here without any work input, the heat gets transferred from low temperature to high temperature, which is not possible as per Clausius statement. Okay, so okay, what you can conclude? See here what you have done. When you try to prove that Kelvin Planck statement is wrong, in such case what happens? Again Clausius statement turn out to be wrong, right? See here what we says, here what we said, this engine is 100% efficient. That is what we said. So what happened here? What conclusion we got? Okay, this device conveys the heat from low temperature to high temperature without any work input. Okay, so when we say that one statement is wrong, obviously what thing which we found is second statement is also wrong. That means both the statements are one and same. Is that okay? Let me know. Is that okay? Is that okay or not? See, initially what we assume that this is an engine which converts all heat receives into work, which is not possible as per Kelvin Planck statement. Okay, so when we try to prove that Kelvin Planck statement is wrong, at the same time we will conclude that Clausius statement is also wrong. That means both the statements are one and same. Is that okay? Yes, is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. Now see, first what we done, we try to violate the Kelvin-Planck statement. So when we try to violate the Kelvin-Planck statement, it leads to the violation of Clausius statement. Okay, let us repeat one more exercise. Okay, now what we will do, okay, second point I'm write down, I will violate now, okay, I will violate now Clausius statement. So violation of Clausius statement, violation of Clausius statement leads to violation of leads to violation of Kelvin Planck statement, leads to the violation of Kelvin Planck's statement. Okay, let us check this. Okay, let us check this. Now, initially I have violated Kelvin Planck's, so it leads to violation of clauses. Now I will violate first clauses and let us check whether it violates Kelvin Planck's as well or not. Okay, so let us draw it. Okay, so how to draw it? Okay, let us consider. Okay, so let us consider this is a source which is at a temperature T1. Let us consider the sink which is at a temperature T2, right? Now let us consider the engine. Okay, let us consider this engine. Okay, so this is the engine which operates between two temperature T1 and T2. So what this engine will do? The engine will receive Q1 amount of heat, it will reject Q2 amount of heat. Okay, by producing W is equal to Q1 minus Q2 amount of work. Try to understand. I am following, see, I am following Kelvin Planck's. Now I am following Kelvin Planck's, but I will violate which statement? Clausius statement. Okay, so this is as per Kelvin Planck statement. What the Kelvin Planck statement says, no engine is 100% efficient, right? So obviously, this diagram indicates that this engine is not 100% efficient because some heat is rejected. There is some value of Q2, right? Some heat is rejected, right? So this engine is not 100% efficient. So this is as per Kelvin Planck statement. Okay, now let us violate the Clausius statement. Okay, so we will violate the Clausius statement now. Okay, so let us consider this this reversed heat engine. Let us consider this reverse heat engine. So what this reverse heat engine does? Okay, so this reverse heat engine, it will extract Q2 amount of heat. See how much heat it is rejected, Q2. So whatever amount of heat that is been rejected by the engine, same amount of heat it is been received by the reverse heat engine. Okay, so it rejects Q2, obviously it receives Q2. Okay, so this amount of heat it is received by the reverse heat engine. Okay, so as it receives Q2, obviously how much it will, okay, how much it will convey. Okay, now see all of you, this is as per Clausius statement. Okay, now I need to violate the Clausius statement. Okay, so what this reverse heat engine will do, it will abstract Q2 amount of heat without any work input. Okay, so without any work input it will abstract Q2. So how much it will reject? It will reject Q. Okay, you can see here, all of you see here, this is as per Kelvin Planck statement, and this is the violation of Clausius statement. Try to understand. So this is as per Kelvin Planck's. What Kelvin Planck says? No engine is 100% efficient. So if you see this diagram, it is okay. Now I will try to violate the Clausius statement. What Clausius statement says? Clausius statement says that if you need to transfer the heat from low temperature to high temperature, you need to take some work input. Okay, so until and unless you supply some work here, Q2 amount of heat will not be abstracted, right? It is not possible. Okay, but now I say that we will say that this engine will abstract Q2 amount of heat without any work input, right? So this engine will abstract Q2 amount of heat without any work input. So there is no any work input. So what happened? Whatever the heat that is been abstracted, same will be rejected, right? Now see, on the similar hand, I will just try to draw combined diagram. Okay, so this is T1. Okay, this is T2. Okay, this is the combined device. This is the combined device. Okay, this is the combined device. Okay, now let us start. Okay, see all of you. You can see this Q2, Q2. is going downward, Q2 is going upward. So you will not have anything here, right? Q2 is downward, Q2 is upward. So here, see, Q2 downward, Q2 upward gets cancelled. There is nothing to show here. Okay, just go above. Okay, Q1 is downward and Q2 is upward, right? Q1 is downward and Q2 is upward. Now see, Q1 is the heat received and Q2 is a heat rejected, right? Q1 is a heat received and Q2 is a heat rejected. So obviously amount of heat received, it is greater than amount of heat rejected, right? So Q1 will be, see, Q1 is the received and Q2 is rejected. So obviously Q1 will be greater than Q2. So I'm taking Q1 minus Q2. See, one is going downward, one is going upward. So obviously one will have a plus sign, one will have a minus sign, right? See, one is going downward, one is going upward. So the amount of heat which is received, okay, that is Q1, I have taken as a plus sign. Amount of heat rejected, that is Q2, I have taken as a minus sign. So it is Q1 minus Q2. You know that amount of heat received, it is always greater than amount of heat rejected, right? So it is Q1 minus Q2. Now what will get here? See, whatever the work that is being produced by the engine, out of that, nothing is been consumed by this reverse heat engine. Nothing is been consumed. You can say, see here, there is no connection. I have not connected this. Okay, so how much is available? W is equal to Q1 minus Q2 is available. Try to understand. So whatever amount of work that is being produced by the engine, same is available because no work is consumed by the reverse heat engine. Okay, see, if you want, I'll just highlight here. See, this is heat engine. This is heat engine. Okay, so heat engine, it was heat will flow from high to low. Okay, and this is reversed heat engine. This is reversed heat engine. So what is reversed heat engine? Heat will flow from, okay, low to high, low to high. Here, when heat flow from high temperature to low temperature, it is called as heat engine, and in such case work is produced. So obviously, naturally, heat flow from high temperature to low temperature. So such device, okay, it is called as heat engine, which converts the heat into work. Okay, so this heat engine is a device, okay, which converts some amount of heat received into work. Okay, and this reverse heat engine, it conveys the heat from low temperature to high temperature. Okay, it is operating against the nature. Okay, so this reverse heat engine conveys the heat from low temperature to high temperature. Okay, but in such case, work input is required. Okay, but as we are violating the Clausius statement, what we are saying, this reverse heat engine conveys the heat from low temperature to high temperature without any work input. And if you say like this, what happens when you combine these devices? Here the Q2 is downward, Q2 is upward. So here there is nothing. Okay, on this arrow, Q1 is downward, Q2 is upward. So I will be writing Q1 minus Q2 because Q1 is a heat received, Q2 is a heat rejected. So heat received is greater, heat received we take it as positive, heat rejected we take it as negative. So it is Q1 minus Q2. Okay, now tell me what you understand from this diagram. Yes, what you understand from this diagram. Let me know what you understand. What this combined device is doing. Okay, what is doing? So combined device converts, okay, all heat receives. Okay, combined device converts all heat receives into work. Okay, combined device converts all heat receives into work. Okay, which is not possible. Which is not possible. Which is not possible as per Kelvin Planck statement. Which is as per Kelvin Planck statement. Okay, let me clear you. See here, when you say that wrong, when you say that Clausius statement is wrong, what you conclude? Kelvin Planck statement is also wrong. That means both the statements are one and same. Try to understand. Okay, here what you say is, you said that, okay, this is the device which converts or which conveys the heat from low temperature to high temperature without any work input. You said it like this, right? This is a device which conveys the heat from low temperature to high temperature without any work input. So with this assumption, Okay, whatever the combined device that you got, what does it says? This is a combined device which converts all heat received into work. So we have started with the wrong assumption. That's why we have concluded with the wrong conclusion, right? Similar thing was happened here. What we said here, we said that this device converts all heat received into work. Okay, and now whenever we got the combined device, what this says, it transfer the heat from low temperature to high temperature without work input, right? So when we say that Kelvin Planck statement is wrong, what we found, Clausius statement is wrong, right? Now in the second case, what we have done, we said that Clausius statement is wrong. Then what we conclude, Kelvin Planck statement is also wrong. That means both the statements are one and same. Is that okay? Is that okay or not? Let me know. Let me know, is that okay or not? Have you understood this one? Is it okay? Have you understood this one or not? Let me know. Have you understood this one? Have you understood both the statements? We have tried to establish a equivalence between Kelvin Planck's and Clausius statement. Okay, so when we try to prove Kelvin Planck statement is wrong, okay, we conclude that Clausius statement is wrong. When we try to prove Clausius statement is wrong, we conclude that Kelvin Planck statement is wrong. Okay, so that means what? Both the statements are one and same. Is that okay or not? Let me know. Is that okay? Yes? Is it okay? Let me know. Okay, now what we'll see? We will see now the Carnot cycle, or this is also known as reversible. Try to understand. Reversible cycle. Reversible cycle. I'm talking reversible cycle. I'm not talking reversed. Carnot cycle is also known as reversible cycle. Reversible. Okay, so let us start. Okay, so I will first start with the PV diagram. I will just start with the PV diagram for the Carnot cycle. Okay, so let us start this. Okay, so this is a pressure scale, this is a volume scale. We'll start with the PV diagram. Okay, so if you just want to see, okay, the Carnot cycle. Okay, so Carnot cycle will be composed of, okay, Carnot, I'll just draw it. Okay, so Carnot cycle will composed of, okay, let me just draw it. Okay, so you just see this one. All of you just see these processes. Okay, I just highlighted those processes here. Okay, so try to see Carnot cycle. Carnot cycle. Try to understand. Okay, so this is one process. Okay, so Carnot cycle consists of 4 processes. Carnot cycle consists of 4 processes. Okay, so I'll just highlight it. This is 1, this is 2, okay, this is 3, and this is 4. Okay, so your process will be like this: 1, 2, 2. Okay, then we will have 2, 2, 3. Try to understand. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 4, 4 to 1, right? So it completes a cycle, right? 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 4, 4 to 1, it completes the cycle, right? Now see, when you observe the temperature at point 1 or temperature at point 2, it is same. That means if you observe the temperature along this line, it is same. And that I will call it as T1 is equal to T2, okay? And that will be the maximum temperature. Try to understand. T1 is equal to T2, and that is the maximum temperature. Similarly, when you observe the temperature at point number 3 or temperature at the point number 4 along this line, if you take any point on this line, the temperature is same. That is T3 is equal to T4 and is equal to minimum temperature, right? See, all of you can have. Okay, we will have 4 temperatures overall: T1, T2, T3, T4, right? So temperature at point number 1 and temperature at point number 2 is same, because along this line, if you take temperature at any point, let's say here, here, or here, here, or anything here, 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 on any line, okay, if you take the temperature,
at any point on this line, if you take the temperature, it is constant. So we'll call that as a maximum temperature. Similarly, on this line, if you take temperature at any point, it is again constant. Okay, so we'll call this as T3. This temperature we'll call it as T3 or T4, and that is minimum temperature, right? Right. So, okay, now if you see this one, okay, lines 2 to 3 and 4 to 1. Okay, 2 to 3 and 4 to 1. Now see all of you. When temperature at any point on this line is same, okay, you can say what I said, at any point on this line, temperature is same. That is T1 is equal to T2. Okay, and when the temperature is same, such process, it is called as isothermal process, right? Yes or no? So 1 to 2, if you see this 1 to 2, it's the isothermal process. 1 to 2, it's a isothermal process. That is PV is equal to C. Okay, that is nothing but isothermal process, right? Yes or no? Similarly, this 3 to 4. 3 to 4 is again isothermal process. That is PV is equal to C. 3 to 4 is again isothermal process. That is PV is equal to C. Right? Now, when you go for 2 to 3, see 1 to 2 and 3 to 4. Okay, they are isothermal because on those lines the temperature is same. Right? Similarly, 2 to 3. Okay, similarly, see here 2 to 3 and 4 to 1. Okay, so 2 to 3 and 4 to 1, they are the adiabatic processes. Try to understand. 2 to 3 and 4 to 1, they are adiabatic processes. I'll just write down here. So this 2 to 3 and this 3 to 4, they are adiabatic process governed by law PV raised to power gamma is equal to C. See this 2 to 3 and 3 to 4, they are adiabatic processes. I repeat, 1 to 2 and 3 to 4, 1 to 2 and 3 to 4, they are isothermal. See, if you want, I'll just write down here only. Try to understand. See, I'll just mention here 1 to 2. Okay, then we will have 2 to 3. Okay, let me write down 1 to 2, 2 to 3. Then we will have 3 to 4. Again, we will have 4 to 1, right? So these are the processes we have. As I told you, 1 to 2 and 3 to 4, they are isothermal, right? Because temperature at point number 1 is equal to temperature at point number 2. So this is isothermal. Similarly, temperature at point number 3 is equal to temperature at point number 4. So it is again isothermal. So I'll just write down here. Okay, so this is 1 to 2 is isothermal. Okay, as well as 3 to 4 is again isothermal, right? It is again isothermal, right? Now, if you see this one, okay, 2 to 3 and 3 to 1 to 4 to 1, you see this 2 to 3 and 4 to 1. Okay, so 2 to 3 and 4 to 1, they are adiabatic. They are adiabatic. They are adiabatic. They are the adiabatic process. Now try to understand. See, there are 2 isothermal and 2 adiabatic. See, 1 to 2 and 3 to 4, they're isothermal. 2 to 3 and 4 to 1, they're adiabatic. But you can see both are reverse processes. 1 to 2 and 3 to 4, they are reversed. 1 to 2 and 3 to 4, they are reversed. Okay. So see, during 1 to 2, what is happening is pressure is decreasing and volume is increasing. Try to understand. During 1 to 2, what is happening? Pressure gets decreased and volume gets increased. So such process, it is called as expansion. Try to understand. Such process, it is called as expansion. During 1 to 2, what happens? Pressure decreases, volume increases. So obviously it's an expansion. And opposite of expansion is compression. So 3 to 4 will becomes the compression. Right? 3 to 4 becomes the compression. Try to understand. 1 to 2, 1 to 2 and 3 to 4, they are isothermal. But during 1 to 2, what happens? Pressure decreases, volume increases. So this is the expansion. During 3 to 4, what happens? Pressure increases and volume decreases. So this is a compression, right? Now let us go to 2 to 3. Observe this 2 to 3. Again, during 2 to 3, what happens? Pressure decreases, volume increases. So this is again expansion. This is again expansion. This is again expansion. See, pressure decreases, volume increases. So this is again expansion, right? And during 4 to 1, what happens? Pressure increases. So when pressure increases, volume decreases. Such process, it is called as compression. Such process, it is called as compression. Okay. Is it okay? Say yes or no. Have you understood this one or not? Let me know. Just let me know. Okay, now see all of you. See, during 1 to 2, during process 1 to 2, what happens? Okay, heat is added. Okay, so I'll just also call it as isothermal expansion or isothermal heat addition. Okay, I'll also call this as heat addition, isothermal heat addition. See, 1 to 2, I will also call this as isothermal expansion or heat addition. Similarly, 3 to 4, I will call it as isothermal expansion or heat rejection, or this is also known as heat rejection. Okay, so try to understand. During 1 to 2, what happens? The heat gets supplied, heat is supplied. During 1 to 2, heat is supplied, and during 3 to 4, heat is rejected. Heat is rejected. Try to understand. Heat is supplied during 1 to 2, heat is rejected during 3 to 4. You can see the arrow. Arrow is coming to the system. Okay, that is during 1 to 2, heat is supplied. During 3 to 4, heat is rejected. Right. So have you understood this one? Let me know. Have you understood?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now see, what we need to do is we need to calculate the efficiency of the cycle, right? So we are supposed to calculate the efficiency of the cycle. So as you know, okay. So how to calculate efficiency? Efficiency, okay. Efficiency of the Carnot cycle. I'll just write down efficiency of the Carnot cycle. Okay. Otherwise, okay. If you need to just write down the formula for simple formula, I'll just write down first simple formula for efficiency. Efficiency is given by, okay, net work done upon heat supplied. This is the basic formula. Efficiency is given by net work done upon heat supplied. Okay, that is output by input. Efficiency is given by output by input, right? So see, so I'll just write down efficiency is equal to net work. See, this is a cycle, right? 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 1. It's a cycle. So whenever it is cycle, okay, summation of Q is equal to summation of W, right? That means heat is equal to work. So instead of W, I will write down this as Q net upon what? Heat supplied. Heat supplied. Try to understand. So how much heat is supplied? Okay. So see, all of you, how much heat is supplied? Heat is supplied during which process? 1 to 2. Heat is supplied during which process? 1 to 2. So I'll just write down Q net upon Q1 to 2. Try to understand. You can see heat is supplied, heat addition during which process? 1 to 2. So that only I write down. W net is equal to Q net. Okay, because this is the first law of thermodynamics. What does it say? If the closed system executes a cycle, then summation of Q is equal to summation of W. That is W is equal to Q. That is what I written. Upon heat supplied, during which process heat is supplied? During 1 to 2. So that is what is written. 1 to 2. So E is equal to, now what is net? Net heat, obviously it is heat supplied minus, okay, heat rejected. Heat supplied minus heat rejected. So see, during 1 to 2 heat is supplied, during 3 to 4 heat is rejected. So net heat will be heat supplied minus heat rejected. Okay, net heat will be heat supplied minus heat rejected. Is that okay? Yes or no? Or shall I write down one more step?
Sir.
Yes. So see, Q net is what? Heat supplied minus heat rejected. Right? So this is heat supplied minus heat rejected upon heat supplied. Right? So I can write down this formula as, okay, so efficiency is given by, I'll just write down efficiency is given by 1 minus, okay, otherwise what we can do, all of you see here, see, all of you, heat supplied is given by what? All of you, if you want, I will just revise. Okay, so efficiency is equal to net work upon heat supplied, right? What is net work? Okay, so is equal to net work is equal to Q net upon heat supplied, right? Now what is net heat? Net heat is equal to heat supplied minus heat rejected. Okay, but see, you take care that both are plus, right? Both are plus. If both are plus, you can do it heat supplied minus heat rejected. But if you don't have like idea whether both are plus or not, what we can do, we can take this as a plus. So this is heat supplied plus heat rejected, provided this value will be minus. Try to understand, provided this value will be minus. Getting or not? When you take both as plus, there is no problem. Okay, so when there is both values are plus, here it should be minus. Okay, but whenever this is plus, okay, and this is minus, then this should be plus. Otherwise what happens? If you take it like this, Q1 to 2 minus Q3 to 4, and if you take Q3 to 4 as a minus again. So minus minus becomes plus, like that, right? So this is the reason. So what I done? Heat supplied plus his heat rejected, provided this value is minus. This value should be minus, right? Is it okay? See, it's like you write down 5 minus 3. 5 minus 3 you can write down as 5 plus minus 3, like that. Is it okay or not? 5 minus 3 you can write down as 5 plus minus 3. Right? So what we'll get here is, okay, like this, right? Is it okay? Yes or no? Is it okay or not? Have understood this one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now let us start this. So what we'll get? We'll get Q 1 to 2 by Q1 1 to 2 is 1, right? So plus Q3 to 4 by Q1 to 2, right? So this is the equation which you got. Let us call this as equation number 1. Let us call this as equation number 1. Let us call this as equation number 1. Right. Now we should know Q1 to 2. We should know Q3 to 4, right? So how to calculate Q1 to 2? Okay. How will get heat supplied during process 1 to 2? How to get heat supplied during process 1 to 2? 1 to 2, it's an isothermal process. So for isothermal process, heat supplied is given by, heat transfer is given by P1 V1 into ln of V2 by V1. Yes, all of you know, we are already derived P1 V1 into ln of V2 by V1. This is a heat transfer during isothermal process, because 1 to 2, it's an isothermal process. And we are calculating heat transfer during isothermal process. So it is P1 V1 into ln of V2 by V1. Now you know that P1 V1 is MRT1. P1 V1 is MRT1, okay, into ln of V2 by V1 into ln of V2 by V1. Okay, so I will just write down these as M P1 V1 is MRT1. That is the only thing which I've done. P1 V1 is equal to MRT1 into ln of V2 by V1. So MR T1, you can see T1 is equal to T2 and is equal to T max. So MR I will just write down as T max into ln of V2 by V1 into ln of V2 by V1, right? So is it okay? Is it okay or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, I will calculate. Okay. So this I will call it as equation number 2. Similarly, I will calculate heat transfer. See, during 1 to 2 I have calculated. I should calculate now during 3 to 4. So heat transfer during 3 to 4 is again given by same. Here I was started with P1 V1 because process what 1 to 2. So for 1 to 2 we have started with initial state. That's P1 V1. So for 3 I will start with state number 3. That is P3 V3 into ln of final volume by initial volume. That is V4 by V3, right? Final volume by initial volume. So what I will get? P3 V3, you know that it's MRT3 into ln of V4 by V3 into ln of V4 by V3, right? So you know that, see what is T3? T3 is equal to T minimum, right? So it is MR T minimum into ln of V4 by V3. V4 by V3, right? See V4 by V3. So see V4, you can see V4. V4, it is less. Yes or no? V4 is less than V3, right? V4 is less than V3. So obviously this value will come as a minus. Right? All of you check. See, V4 is less than V3. Okay, so this value will come as minus. Right? So what I will do is, I'll just take it as, I'll just make it as minus MR T minimum into ln of V3 by V4. Try to understand. V3 by V4. Is it same? Both are same or not? See, when you just take a reciprocal, okay, you need to write down minus sign, right? So I'll just V4 by V3, I have written as V3 by V4 by taking minus sign. Is that okay? Yes or no? Let me know this one. Right? Clear or not? So what we will do, we'll just put this equation number. I'll just mention here, I'll just go to the next page. Okay, we will put this equation number 2 and 3 in equation number 1. Putting equation 2 and 3 in equation number 1, we will put. So what we'll get? We'll get efficiency is equal to, try to understand, efficiency is equal to 1 plus what? Q324. Okay, 1 plus Q324. What is Q324? It's like minus, right? So this term is minus MR T minimum into ln of V3 by V4. Okay, upon Q122. So this is the value, right? MR T maximum, okay, into ln of V2 by V1 into ln of V2 by V. You can check it. So what we'll get? We'll get efficiency is equal to 1. Minus sign I will take it here. MR get cancelled. What is remaining is T mean by T max. Okay, T mean by T max. Okay, into what is that? ln of V3 by V4. Okay, upon ln of V2 by V1 upon ln of V2 by V. Is that okay? Upon ln of V2 by V1. So this is the formula for efficiency. Is that okay? Yes or no? So let us call this as equation number 4. Okay, now let us simplify this equation further. Now see, all of you can see this 2 to 3. See, 2 to 3 is an adiabatic process, right? 2 to 3 is a adiabatic process. So whenever it's an adiabatic process, we can write down the law like final temperature by initial temperature, that is T3 by T2. See, this 2 to 3, it's an adiabatic. Then only we can write down the law. T3 by T2 is equal to P3 by P2 raised to power gamma minus 1 by gamma is equal to V2 by V3 raised to power gamma minus 1. See, this only you can write down whenever it's adiabatic. So whenever it is adiabatic, then only you can write down such law. 2 to 3 is an adiabatic. That's why final temperature by initial temperature, final pressure by initial pressure is equal to initial volume by final volume. Raised to power gamma minus 1 by gamma and raised to power gamma minus 1, right? Now what we'll do, we'll just equate these two. Okay, we'll just equate this. We'll just equate this and this. Okay, so when you equate these two, okay, what we'll get is, okay, when we equate these two, okay, I'll just write down V2 by V3 as V2 by V3. I will just write down this as T3 by T2 raised to power 1 by gamma minus 1. Try to understand. Okay, V2 by, see, when I equate these two, what I'll get? V2 by V3 is equal to T3 by T2 raised to power 1 by gamma minus 1, right? Yes or no? So I'll just write down V2 by V3 is equal to, what is T3? You can check it. T3 is a T minimum, right? T3 is a T minimum upon T2 it's a T maximum, right? T2 is a T maximum raised to power 1 by gamma minus 1, raised to power 1 by gamma minus 1. So V2 by V3 is equal to T min by T max raised to power 1 by gamma minus 1. Let us call this as equation number 5. Now see, 2 to 3 is adiabatic. Similarly, 4 to 1 is again adiabatic, right? 4 to 1 is again adiabatic, right? So we'll write down the same equation. Let us write down the same equation. Okay, so final temperature, see how I'm writing. Final temperature by initial temperature, T1 by T4, final temperature by initial temperature is equal to final pressure by initial pressure raised to power gamma minus 1 by gamma is equal to initial volume by final volume raised to power gamma minus 1. Try to understand. See, final by initial is equal to initial by final, right? So let us again equate these two. Okay, let us equate these two. So when we'll equate these two, okay, so what value of V4 by V1 will get? V4 by V1 is given by T1 by T4 raised to power 1 by gamma minus 1, right? V4 by V1 is equal to T1 by T4 raised to power 1 by gamma minus 1, right? So what we will do? So V4 by V1 is given by, what is T1? You can check it. T1 is a T maximum, T max upon T4. T4 is a T minimum. T4 is a T minimum raised to power 1 by gamma. right? This is T max. This is T max by T mean. We will just reverse it. Okay. So when I make it V1 by V4, this is V4 by V1. I will make it V1 by V4 is equal to T mean by T max raised to power 1 by gamma minus 1, right? We are just making reciprocal. So power will remain as it is, right? Power will remain as it is. So let us call this equation number 6. Let us call this as equation number 6. Okay. So here only I'll just do it. Here only I'll just do it. Okay. So if you compare equation 5 and 6, you can see the 5 and 6. Your right hand side is right equal. Okay. So equating equation 5 and 6. So when we equate equation number 5 and 6, what we'll get? We'll get V2 by V3. See, their left hand sides will be equal, right? V2 by V3 is equal to V1 by V4 is equal to V1 by V4. Okay, so what we'll do here now, V3 will bring here and V1 will bring here. So what we'll get? V2 by V1 is equal to V3 by V4, right? So one more equation we will get. Let us call this as equation number 7. So V2 by V1 is equal to V3 by V4. You can check V2 by V1 is equal to V3 by V4. So when you put this equation number 7, okay, so putting equation 7 in equation 4, when you put this equation number 7, see this V3 by V4 and V2 by V1, they are same. So that they get cancelled. So what formula for efficiency will get? Efficiency is equal to 1 minus T minimum by T maximum. Okay, because this will get cancelled. V3 by V4 is equal to V2 by V1. They get cancelled. So what will get? Efficiency is given by 1 minus T minimum by T maximum. Okay, so what you can understand from this is okay, try to understand. See this, what we written. This is a Carnot cycle for which we are getting the efficiency. Okay, so I'll just write down this as efficiency of Carnot. Now I can mention efficiency of Carnot. I'll just write down as CAR, Carnot. Efficiency of Carnot, right? So see, efficiency of Carnot engine, efficiency of Carnot engine depends on only minimum and maximum temperature. Depends on only minimum and maximum temperature. Is it okay? Have you understood or not?
Yes, sir.
So see, if you have a Carnot engine, okay, so there is nothing to related with, okay, what is heat supplied, what is heat rejected, what is work produced. Okay, so efficiency of Carnot engine, it only depends upon what minimum temperature you have and what maximum temperature you have. So if you have these two temperature, one is minimum and second is maximum, you can calculate the efficiency of Carnot engine. Okay, and see, this is a very important expression, efficiency of Carnot engine, which will be useful throughout your journey of the professional journey, right? So this is very important. Efficiency of Carnot is given by 1 minus T min by T max. So have you understood this one? Have you understood the derivations? Have you understood? Remember, see, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, both are isothermal. 1 to 2 and 3 to 4, both are isothermal, but both are reversed. So 1 to 2, it's a heat addition. 3 to 4, it's a heat rejection. Similarly, 2 to 3 and 4 to 1, they are adiabatic. But again, both are reversed. 2 to 3 is an expansion, 4 to 1 is a compression. So based on that, we started with the basic formula. Okay, so we have written heat supplied, we have written heat rejected, and from those we reach with the formula for the efficiency. Have you understood this one? Yes or no? Have you understood these formulas? Let me know. Have you understood? Okay, so in the today's session, we have started with the proving that Kelvin-Planck statements and Clausius statements, they are one and same. So how we proved that? We initially try to violate the clauses, so it leads to violation of clauses. then we violated Clausius statement, which leads to the violation of Kelvin-Planck statement. So in this way, we have proved that Kelvin-Planck and Clausius statement, they are one and same. Next, we have seen the Carnot cycle. Okay, and we have derived the expression for the efficiency of Carnot cycle. So is there any problem with this one, all of you? Is there any problem with this one?
No, sir.
So what we'll do, today we will stop, and in the next lecture, we will start with the Carnot theorem. Okay, so in the next lecture, we will start with the Carnot theorem, and once it gets finished, immediately we will start with the problems on refrigerator and heat pump. Okay, once this has been finished, we will start with the problems on refrigerator and heat pump, right? So if there is any doubt or difficulty, you can let me know. Otherwise, we can conclude this session.